The council chamber stretched wider than any stadium on Earth. Thousands of alien representatives filled the curved seats that rose toward a ceiling lost in artificial clouds. Daewon Kim stood at the center platform, his black diplomatic suit looking plain against the glowing robes and crystalline exoskeletons surrounding him. He had practiced his speech for months. Every word mattered. This was humanity's first real chance to join the galactic community. Honored members of the Galactic Council, Daewon began, his voice amplified across the massive chamber. Humanity comes before you today seeking membership and partnership. We offer our technology, our culture, and our dedication to peaceful cooperation. A sound like grinding metal echoed through the chamber. It took Daewon a moment to realize it was laughter. The Vrexian overlord Quintar rose from his seat. He was massive, nearly 3 meters tall, with forearms and skin that looked like polished stone. "One planet," he said, his voice booming. "You control one single planet and you want to sit among empires?" More laughter rippled through the council. Daewon felt Commander Hyojin Park tense beside him. Hyojin was a military officer, not a diplomat, and her hand moved slightly toward her sidearm before she stopped herself. "We may have one planet," Daewon replied calmly, "but it is home to 8 billion people. We have much to offer." A creature that looked like floating jellyfish pulsed with colors. Its translator device spoke in a sweet voice. 8 billion on one world? How quaint. The Thalorian Collective spans 43 star systems. Our population exceeds 2 trillion. What could you possibly offer us? Daewon opened his mouth to respond, but Quintar cut him off. Your world is small. Your resources are limited. You have not even colonized your own star system properly. Mars? A research station with a few thousand people? The Vrexian shook his massive head. You are children playing with toys. The Thalorian matriarch, an ancient being whose species had traveled the stars for 10,000 years, spoke with something almost like kindness. Perhaps in another century or two, when you have spread across your local systems, you may reapply. But now, you have nothing we need. You control nothing we want. Daewon felt the weight of failure pressing down on him. Years of preparation, months of travel across space, all ending in mockery. But he kept his face neutral. We understand your position, he said quietly. Might we request observer status? To learn from the council and prove our worth over time? The council members consulted among themselves. Finally, Quintar waved one of his massive hands dismissively. Fine. Send an observer if you wish. Watch and learn how real civilizations operate. As Daewon and Hyojin left the platform, the commander leaned close to whisper, They think we're nothing. Let them think that, Daewon replied softly. Back in their quarters on the orbital station, Hyojin paced like a caged animal. 43 star systems. 2 trillion citizens. Did you hear the numbers they were throwing around? Daewon sat at the desk reviewing his notes. I heard. And their fleets? I saw the tactical displays when we docked. They have warships spread across hundreds of light years. Each empire is protecting dozens of worlds. Yes. Hyojin stopped pacing and looked at her superior officer. That's a weakness. Daewon looked up, one eyebrow raised. Explain. They're spread thin, so thin. Sure, they control vast territories, but how many ships protect each world? I counted. The Vrexian Empire has maybe 50 major warships per star system. For 47 systems, that's... She did the math quickly. Less than 2,500 capital ships total, spread across an empire that takes months to cross even at faster than light speeds. And, Daewon prompted, and we have 8 billion people on one planet. Every factory, every resource, every soldier we produce is right there. No supply lines stretching across the galaxy. No colonies that take weeks to reinforce. Everything concentrated in one solar system. Daewon allowed himself a small smile. You're thinking like a warrior, Commander. I'm thinking like someone who just realized these empires are built on sand. They look big and impressive, but they're fragile. If someone attacked one of their worlds, it would take their fleets days or weeks to respond. Maybe longer. Daewon pulled up a secure channel on his communicator. The screen flickered, then showed the face of Admiral Taeyang Choi back on Earth. Ambassador, the Admiral greeted. I watched the session. That could have gone better. It went exactly as we expected, Daewon replied. Admiral, I need you to review the intelligence Commander Park is sending you. Study their defensive deployments. Already on it. What are you thinking? Daewon glanced at Hyojin. I'm thinking humanity doesn't need to match their empires planet for planet. We just need to be impossible to defeat. And for that we need numbers, and Project Genesis? the Admiral asked. Accelerate it. Full authorization. If they won't accept us as equals through diplomacy, we'll earn their respect another way. After the call ended, Hyojin sat down heavily. Project Genesis. I've heard rumors. Is it real? Very real. And it's about to become our greatest asset. Weeks passed. Daewon attended council sessions as Earth's official observer. He sat in a small booth watching as the various empires discussed trade disputes, border conflicts, and technological exchanges. It was educational in ways the council never intended. He learned that the Vrexian Empire, for all its bluster, had been losing a border dispute with the Keldarans for 3 years. Not because the Keldarans were stronger, but because Vrexian reinforcements took too long to arrive. He learned that the Thalorian Collective, ancient and wise, had lost 2 colony worlds to a plague because their medical ships couldn't reach the affected systems in time. He learned that the Nexarian Confederation had a civil war brewing because their central government was too far from the outer colonies to maintain control. Effectively, every empire's strength was also its fatal weakness. They were vast but slow, powerful but scattered, rich but vulnerable, and they all looked down on humanity's single small world. Back on Earth, in secret facilities buried deep underground and hidden within mountains, something unprecedented was beginning. Dr. Ji-Won Lee stood in a laboratory that stretched for kilometers, watching rows upon rows of artificial wombs. Each one contained a developing human, grown from genetic templates of humanity's finest soldiers, scientists, and leaders. This was Project Genesis. Humanity couldn't expand across the stars fast enough to compete with ancient empires. They couldn't build a multi-system civilization in a few generations, but they could do something else. Something no other species had ever attempted. They could build an army that never stopped growing. The first generation numbered 10,000. They would reach physical maturity in 3 years, with training and education implanted directly into their developing brains. No childhood, no wasted years, just soldiers, ready to fight from the moment they opened their eyes. And this was only the beginning. Daewon received weekly updates. The numbers grew from thousands to hundreds of thousands. The underground facilities expanded. Mars Colony secretly converted half its space to production facilities. The asteroid belt became home to training centers and barracks, all hidden from the galaxy's observation. One evening, Hyojin joined Daewon as he looked out at the starfield from their quarters. "Do you think it will work?" she asked. "They count planets," Daewon said quietly. "They measure their strength and how much space they control. But wars aren't won by territory, Commander. They're won by people willing to fight. And we're making a lot of people. Yes, we are." In the council chamber the next day, Quintar announced that the Vrexian Empire would be claiming mineral rights to several asteroids in Sol's outer system. It was perfectly legal under galactic law. Earth had no claim to resources beyond Mars. Daewon stood and objected politely. He was ignored. As he sat back down, he thought about the reports from Dr. Lee. The first generation would be ready in 18 months. The second generation, numbering 5 million, was already in development. Let them take the asteroids, he thought. Let them think they can push us around. Soon enough, they would learn that humanity's small world was about to produce something the galaxy had never seen before. An endless tide of warriors with nowhere to retreat to and everything to fight for. Dr. Ji-Won Lee walked through the Genesis facility with steady practice steps. She had made this walk 1,000 times, but it never stopped filling her with awe. The main chamber stretched 3 kilometers underground, carved from solid bedrock beneath the Gobi Desert. Row after row of translucent pods lined the walls, each one containing a human being, growing from a single cell to full maturity. 18 months had passed since the Council rejected humanity's membership application. How many today? Ji-Won asked her assistant. 10,000 reached maturity this morning. Another 15,000 will be ready by the end of the week. Ji-Won nodded, checking her tablet. The numbers scrolled past. Each pod represented a person, though not one born in the traditional way. Project Genesis used the finest genetic templates from humanity's military history, combined with modern improvements, enhanced muscle density, faster healing, perfect eyesight, improved reflexes, but most importantly, the neural implants that filled their minds with training while they grew. She stopped at one pod. Inside, a young man floated in the nutrient solution. His eyes were closed, but brain activity monitors showed he was dreaming of combat training, weapon systems, squad tactics, and strategic thinking. By the time he woke up, he would have the knowledge of a 10-year military veteran. The pod's display showed his designation, YS Han 4721. But when he woke, he would choose his own name. That was important. They were growing soldiers, not robots. Temperature is stable, Jiwan murmured, reviewing the readings. Neural integration at 97%. He'll wake tomorrow. Admiral Taeyang Choi entered the facility wearing civilian clothes. Official visitors couldn't know what happened here. To the outside world, this was a geological research station. Dr. Lee, he greeted her. I need your latest projections. They walked to her office, a small room carved from the rock. Jiwan pulled up holographic displays showing facilities across Earth and Mars. The Gobi facility produces 10,000 per month. The Antarctic facility matches that. The 3 underwater facilities combined for another 20,000 monthly. Mars colony adds 15,000 more. That's 55,000 soldiers per month, the Admiral calculated quickly. Yes, and we're building 12 more facilities. When they come online next year, we'll be producing 200,000 per month. The Admiral stared at the numbers. That's over 2 million soldiers per year. Correct. And we can sustain this production for at least 50 years with current resources. Jiwan pulled up another display. We've also solved the training bottleneck. The neural implants are 99% effective. These soldiers wake up knowing everything a veteran knows. What about loyalty? Morale? Jiwan had expected this question. They're human, Admiral. Fully human with normal emotions and free will, but they're born knowing their purpose. Earth is their home, their only home. And they're designed to be excellent at what they do. The door opened and a young man entered. He wore a simple gray uniform and moved with the precision of a trained fighter. Admiral Choi, Dr. Lee, he said, bowing slightly. This is young Su-Han, Jiwan introduced him. He woke 6 months ago from the first generation. The Admiral studied him. How old are you? 3 years since inception. 6 months conscious, young Su replied. But I have the knowledge and physical development of a 25-year-old soldier with 8 years of service. How do you feel about your creation? About being made for this purpose? Young Su considered the question carefully. I exist. That's enough. I exist to protect humanity's home. That gives my life meaning. Isn't that what everyone wants? A purpose? The Admiral nodded slowly. Welcome to humanity's defense forces, soldier. After Young Su left, Jiwan showed the Admiral the rest of the facility. Training rooms where newly awakened soldiers learned to apply their implanted knowledge in reality. Medical wings where their bodies were examined and optimized. Armories where they practiced with weapons. The psychological evaluations? The Admiral asked. Better than expected. There's a strong sense of brotherhood among them. They call themselves the new generation. Some struggled with existential questions at first, but they've adapted well. They're human, Admiral, just more focused. On Mars, Commander Hyojin Park oversaw the military side of the operation. She watched as 5,000 soldiers drilled in a sealed canyon, moving in perfect formation. Their movements were sharp and efficient. They're good, she said to her second-in-command. Better than good. They should be. Each one has training from our best special forces implanted in their memory. Hyojin watched as the soldiers performed a tactical exercise. They moved like water, flowing around obstacles, covering each other perfectly. No hesitation. No wasted movement. How's their morale? High. They're eager to prove themselves. Some are frustrated that they train but never fight. That will change, Hyojin said quietly. We have intelligence reports from Misun. The Vrexians are getting aggressive. Back on Earth, Misun Kwan sat in an intelligence bunker, analyzing intercepted communications. She was humanity's best cryptographer and analyst. For months she had been tracking Vrexian fleet movements. The pattern was clear and disturbing. She compiled her report and sent it to both the Admiral and Ambassador Kim. Within hours, she was on a secure call with both of them. The Vrexians are mobilizing, she explained, highlighting star charts. 3 battle groups are moving toward the outer Sol system. They're not even hiding it anymore. Their stated purpose? Ambassador Kim asked. Resource extraction. They claim several asteroids and Jupiter's moons have mineral deposits they need. According to galactic law, they have the right to claim resources in any system not fully colonized by a member species. And we're not members, the Admiral finished grimly. Exactly. But Admiral, I don't think it's just about minerals. Look at the fleet composition. Meeson zoomed in on the tactical display. This is way more firepower than you need for mining operations. They're bringing invasion-class troop carriers. Silence fell over the call. They're going to take Earth, Hyojin said flatly. Not take. Not directly, Meeson corrected. My analysis suggests they'll establish bases in our outer system, then slowly squeeze us. Cut off our asteroid mining, blockade Mars, force us into submission without direct invasion. It's cleaner politically. Ambassador Kim rubbed his eyes. He looked tired. Timeline? The fleet will reach Jupiter orbit in 4 months. The Admiral leaned forward. How many troops are we talking about? Best estimate? 50,000 Vrexian soldiers, plus support staff and equipment. Young-Soo Han stood at attention in the briefing room with 99 other soldiers from the new generation. Admiral Choi stood before them. Some of you have wondered when you would be called upon, the Admiral began. That time is now. The Vrexian Empire is sending forces to claim our outer system. We cannot allow this. The soldiers remained perfectly still, but Young-Soo felt his heart rate increase. This was what he was made for. We have 4 months to prepare. In that time, 50,000 more of your generation will awaken. Together you will form the first Solar Defense Corps, 150,000 soldiers. Young-Soo did the math instantly. 50,000 Vrexians against 150,000 humans. 3-to-1 odds in humanity's favor. Your mission is simple, the Admiral continued. When the Vrexian fleet arrives, you will be waiting, hidden in the asteroid belt on the moons of Jupiter, in stealth ships throughout the outer system. And when they try to take what is ours, you will show them that humanity does not yield. After the briefing, Young-Soo stood with several other soldiers. One of them, a woman named Hana Lim, spoke quietly. We outnumber them 3-to-1. Is that enough? It's not about numbers, Young-Soo replied. It's about sending a message. They think we're weak because we have one planet. They think we can't defend ourselves. We're going to prove them wrong. Another soldier, Jaemin Cho, grinned. I've got a whole lifetime of combat training in my head. It's time to see if it's worth anything. Dr. Ji-Won Lee stood in her office late that night looking at production schedules. 4 months. They could accelerate the awakening schedule. Push it harder. 150,000 soldiers would be ready for the Vrexian fleet. But that was just the beginning. Behind them, another 500,000 were growing. And behind them, millions more. The Genesis facilities would not stop. Could not stop. Because humanity had learned the lesson the galaxy taught them. In space, territory meant nothing if you couldn't defend it. Technology meant nothing if you didn't have the numbers to use it. But people, soldiers willing to fight for their only home, that was everything. Ji-Won updated the production schedule and sent it to the Admiral. Then she walked back into the main chamber, looking at the thousands of pods stretching into the distance. Inside each one, a human being grew toward maturity. Each one would wake with purpose and training. Each one would be ready to defend Earth. The galaxy had laughed at humanity's small world. Soon they would learn that small worlds produce big armies when that's all they have to protect. Captain Bora Song stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the stars slowly drift past. Her ship was one of 50 carriers leaving Earth orbit in complete radio silence. No electronic transmissions, no energy signatures that could be detected. Just old-fashioned chemical propulsion pushing them slowly, silently through space. It felt wrong. Modern ships used fusion drives and faster-than-light engines. But those could be detected across a solar system. Chemical rockets were primitive, slow, but invisible unless someone was looking directly at them, and nobody was looking for a fleet of primitive ships crawling through the dark. Distance to Jupiter? Bora asked her navigator. 3 months at current speed, Captain. 3 months of silent running. 3 months with 50,000 soldiers packed into every available space on her ship. No complaints, though. The soldiers of the new generation understood the mission. In the troop bay below, Corporal Minki Sato sat with his squad, playing cards with actual paper cards. No electronic devices allowed. Nothing that could emit a signal. Do you think they know we're coming? Asked Private Dal Suyun, studying his cards. The Vrexians? No way, replied Sergeant Hana Lim. They think we're helpless, just a primitive species on one planet. Minki laid down his cards. I've been thinking about that. We were created 6 months ago. Everything we know, everything we are, It's all designed for this. Does that bother anyone else? Dalsu shrugged. We exist. That's more than nothing, and we have a purpose. Lots of people spend their whole lives searching for meaning. We were born with it. Hana collected the cards. Philosophy later. Training now. The captain wants all squads to run zero-gravity combat drills. Throughout the fleet, similar scenes played out. 150,000 soldiers traveling through space in silence, preparing for a battle that would determine humanity's future. In the fleet command ship, Jae-hyun-ro reviewed tactical plans with his officers. Jae-hyun was one of the old humans, not created in a facility but born the traditional way. He had fought in Earth's last war 30 years ago and been recruited to train the new generation. The asteroid belt is our advantage, he explained, highlighting positions on the tactical display. The Vrexians will set up their base near Jupiter thinking they're safe, but will already be in position throughout the belt. Hidden in the rocks, what about their sensors? Asked one of his lieutenants. Vrexian technology is better than ours, but sensors can't detect what they're not looking for. They're expecting a primitive defense around Earth, maybe some armed satellites. They're not expecting an army hiding in the asteroid belt. He zoomed in on Jupiter's moons. Europa, Ganymede, Callisto. We'll have troops dug into the ice on all three. When their fleet arrives, they'll be surrounded without knowing it. Back on Earth, Sun Hee-nam worked 18-hour days coordinating logistics. She was responsible for ensuring the fleet had everything it needed. Food, water, oxygen, ammunition, medical supplies. Everything for 150,000 people for 6 months. The numbers were staggering. How are we managing this? Her assistant asked, looking at the supply manifests. This much food alone should be impossible. Sun Hee smiled tiredly. We're not managing it the way the Vrexians would. They have supply chains stretching across star systems. They need to ship resources from dozens of planets to maintain their fleets. But we have one planet with all our resources concentrated. Every factory, every farm, every production facility is right here. No interstellar shipping. No supply lines that can be cut. She pulled up a chart showing production versus consumption. Earth's industry is running at maximum capacity. We're producing more supplies than the fleet needs. If this conflict lasts a year, we can sustain it. If it lasts 10 years, we can sustain that too. And they can't? Their fleet in our system is 4 months from the nearest Vrexian supply depot. If we cut them off, they have maybe 6 months of supplies. After that, they either retreat or starve. The fleet reached the asteroid belt after 2 months of travel. Captain Bora guided the Indomitable between two massive rocks, using them as cover. Her ship powered down to minimal systems, becoming just another dark object among millions. All across the belt, other ships did the same. 50 carriers vanished into the rocks. Troops disembarked in vacuum suits, setting up hidden bases inside hollowed asteroids. They worked in silence, using hand signals and short-range laser communications that couldn't be intercepted. Corporal Minki helped his squad carve out a defensive position inside an asteroid. They used mining equipment to create tunnels and chambers, carefully venting the debris away from the Vrexian approach vector. This is surreal, Dalsu said over the squad's private comm channel. We're literally hiding inside a rock waiting to ambush aliens. Not just ambush, Hana corrected. We're creating a kill zone. Every asteroid in this sector has a squad hidden inside. When they pass through, they'll be in the middle of a 3-dimensional minefield made of soldiers. Minki looked at the tactical display in his helmet. Thousands of green dots represented hidden human positions throughout the belt. The Vrexians would be flying through a gauntlet without knowing it. On Europa, teams worked in the subsurface ocean, setting up bases in the ice layer. Lieutenant Kyung-suk Bae supervised the construction of an entire military complex hidden beneath 50 meters of ice. We have 3 months before they arrive, she told her engineers. This base needs to hold 5,000 soldiers and remain completely undetectable. The ice is a problem, one engineer reported. It's constantly shifting. Maintaining structural integrity is difficult. Then don't maintain it. Build flexible structures. Let them shift with the ice. We just need them to last long enough for the initial engagement. Similar bases were being constructed on Ganymede and Callisto. 15,000 soldiers total hidden on Jupiter's moons waiting. Jae-hyun-ro stood in a command bunker carved into the ice of Ganymede, looking at the tactical situation. It was perfect. The Vrexians would approach Jupiter, thinking they owned the outer system. Instead, they would be entering a trap. They've never faced this kind of warfare, he said to his staff. Their battles are fleet actions in open space, ship against ship. clean and technological. But we're going to fight them like humans have always fought, using terrain, ambush, and overwhelming numbers. Will it work against their superior weapons? An officer asked. Jae-hyun smiled grimly. Their weapons don't matter if they can't see us until we're already firing. And their armor doesn't help when they're outnumbered 3-1. 2 weeks before the Rexian fleet was scheduled to arrive, a scout ship entered the outer solar system. It was small and fast, sent ahead to survey the area. Captain Bora watched from her hiding place as the scout zipped past, sensors sweeping space. It passed within 100 kilometers of her position. The scout detected nothing. The humans remained silent and invisible. The scout ship continued toward Jupiter, did a quick scan of the moons, and departed. Its report would tell the Rexian fleet that the outer system was empty and defenseless. Perfect, Ambassador. Dae-won Kim received the final intelligence report from Mi-soon Kwan. The main Vrexian fleet will arrive in 10 days, she informed him. 3 capital ships, 20 support vessels, and 5 troop carriers. Exactly as predicted. Our forces are in position. All units report ready. 150,000 soldiers hidden throughout the outer system. The Vrexians have no idea we're there. Dae-won looked at the star chart showing both fleets. The Vrexian ships were massive, powerful, and technologically superior. But they would be entering a system they thought was defenseless. He thought about the council chamber 18 months ago. The laughter. The mockery. The casual dismissal of humanity as insignificant. Let them come, he said quietly. Corporal Min-ki and his squad performed final equipment checks. Each soldier carried a rifle designed for vacuum combat, magnetic boots, and 3 days of supplies. They had food, water, and ammunition hidden throughout the asteroid in case they got separated. Strange way to fight a war, Dalsu observed. Hiding in rocks, waiting. It's how humans have always won, Hana replied. We're not the strongest or the fastest, but we're patient. And there's a lot of us. Min-ki thought about that. The new generation numbered in the hundreds of thousands now. And back on Earth, millions more were growing. The Vrexians thought they were fighting Earth's entire military force. They had no idea this was just the first wave. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Bora received the final pre-battle briefing from Admiral Choi. The Vrexian fleet will arrive at Jupiter in 3 days. They will establish orbit and begin setting up their base. We will let them. Let them think they've won. Let them relax. And then when they're settled and comfortable, we will strike. Rules of engagement? Bora asked. Disable their ships if possible. Capture if possible. Kill only if necessary. We want prisoners who can tell the galaxy what happened here. And if they refuse to surrender? The Admiral's face was hard. Then we show them that humanity doesn't lose wars on our doorstep. Whatever it takes, the transmission ended. Bora looked at her crew. Good people. Dedicated. Ready. She looked at the tactical display showing the approaching Vrexian fleet. They were coming in confidently, arrogantly, expecting no resistance. The Vrexian fleet arrived at Jupiter in perfect formation. 3 massive capital ships led the way, each one 2 kilometers long and bristling with weapons. Behind them came the support vessels and troop carriers. It was an impressive sight, a demonstration of imperial power. On the flagship, General Thaxmar reviewed the sensor data with satisfaction. The outer solar system showed exactly what he expected to see. Nothing. No defense fleet. No military installations. Just empty space and silent moons. Begin orbital insertion around Jupiter, he ordered. Deploy the construction teams to Europa. We'll have our base operational within the week. His officers moved efficiently, confident in their superiority. The humans had 1 planet and primitive technology. This would be a simple occupation. In the asteroid belt, Corporal Min-ki watched through his helmet's display as the Vrexian fleet passed within 500 kilometers. So close he could see individual hull details on the ships. His heart pounded, but he remained perfectly still. Hold position, Sergeant Hana's voice came through the comm. Wait for the signal. Throughout the belt, 150,000 soldiers watched and waited. Not one of them moved. Not one transmission was sent. They were ghosts among the rocks. The Vrexian fleet continued toward Jupiter, completely unaware they had just passed through the largest ambush in human history. 3 days later, the Vrexians began landing on Europa. Massive construction equipment descended from the troop carriers, ready to carve out a base in the ice. 5,000 Vrexian soldiers in powered armor secured the landing zone. Beneath the ice, Lieutenant Kyung-suk Bae gave the order, "Engage." The ice erupted as human soldiers emerged from hidden tunnels. 50 positions simultaneously opened fire on the Vrexian landing force. Railgun rounds designed for vacuum combat tore through the aliens' defensive perimeter. The Vrexians reacted quickly, their superior armor and shields activating. But for every position they suppressed, 2 more opened fire from different angles. The humans had spent weeks preparing this kill zone. "Contact enemy forces, Europa surface," Thaxmar's communication officer reported. Estimate 5,000 human soldiers engaging our landing force." Thaxmar frowned. 5,000? Where had they come from? "Reinforce Europa immediately. Deploy the second wave." Another 5,000 Vrexian soldiers launched from the troop carriers. As they descended toward Europa, the ice erupted again. This time, 10,000 human soldiers emerged from deeper tunnels surrounding the reinforcements. "Contact report update," the communications officer said, voice rising. "Estimate now 15,000 human combatants on Europa." "That's impossible," Thaxmar growled. "Our intelligence said they had minimal military presence in the outer system." On Europa's surface, Kyung-suk coordinated the battle from a command bunker. The tactical display showed Vrexian forces surrounded by humans on all sides. "Focus fire on their command units. Take out their officers first." The Vrexians fought well. Their weapons were superior, their armor better, their shields stronger. But they were outnumbered 3-1, and the humans knew every tunnel and hiding spot on the battlefield. Private Junwoo Park fired his railgun from cover, watching his rounds impact a Vrexian soldier's shield. The shield held. He fired again, and again. On the 15th shot, the shield collapsed and the round penetrated. That was the human advantage. They had enough ammunition to overwhelm any defense. Enough soldiers to replace any losses. Enough determination to never stop firing. A Vrexian plasma round melted the rock next to Junwoo's head. He rolled to new cover and kept firing. Around him, other human soldiers did the same. They took casualties. The Vrexian weapons were deadly. But for every human that fell, 3 more were already moving to fill the gap. "They're not stopping," a Vrexian officer reported to Thaxmar. "We've eliminated hundreds of them, but more keep appearing." "Where are they all coming from?" Thaxmar studied the tactical display in growing horror. Europa was supposed to be empty. Instead, it was crawling with human soldiers. "Pull back our forces. Retreat to the ships," but retreat was not simple. The humans had planned for that too. As the Vrexians fell back toward their landing craft, they found the landing zones occupied by even more human soldiers. On Ganymede and Callisto, similar battles erupted. The Vrexians had sent small survey teams to those moons. Those teams were now fighting for survival against overwhelming numbers. Total human force estimate, the communications officer reported with disbelief in his voice. 50,000 soldiers across the 3 moons. "That matches our entire landing force," Thaxmar said slowly. "How did they hide that many troops? How did our sensors miss them?" The answer was simple but unthinkable to the Vrexians. The humans had simply dug into the ice and waited. No energy signatures, no electronic emissions. Just soldiers with basic weapons hiding in holes willing to wait weeks for their moment. It was primitive. It was basic. It was working. "Pull all forces back to the fleet," Thaxmar ordered. "We'll bombard the moons from orbit and eliminate the human positions." But as his fleet began to maneuver for bombardment, new contacts appeared on the sensors. Ships were emerging from the asteroid belt. Dozens of them. Not warships, but carriers and troop transports, all heading directly for the Vrexian fleet. "Additional forces incoming," the sensor officer reported. "Estimate 100 transports." Thaxmar's tactical computer calculated the implications. If each transport carried 1,000 soldiers, that meant another 100,000 humans were about to join the battle. It was impossible. Earth was supposed to be a minor civilization. Where were they getting all these soldiers? Captain Bora commanded the Indomitable as it accelerated toward the Vrexian flagship. Her ship wasn't designed for combat. It was basically a flying box full of soldiers, but it didn't need to be a warship. "Deploy all troops," she ordered. "Boarding operations full assault." Across the human fleet, 100,000 soldiers launched into space in individual combat pods. Each pod was just a simple tube with a rocket attached, carrying one soldier with a rifle and magnetic boots. The Vrexians tried to shoot down the pods, but there were too many. For every pod destroyed, 10 more got through. They slammed into the Vrexian ship's hulls, and the soldiers inside began cutting through with laser torches. Jae-hyun-ro led his unit through a breached airlock into a Vrexian ship. Gravity returned as they entered the pressurized sections. Alarms blared. Vrexian soldiers rushed to repel the boarders. "Clear each section methodically," Jae-hyun ordered. "No rushing. We have time and numbers." His soldiers advanced through the ship corridors, trading fire with defenders. The Vrexians were tough, but they were designed for ship operations, not close-quarters combat against overwhelming numbers. For every corridor, Jae-hyun sent 10 soldiers. If they met resistance, he sent 20 more. Then 50. He had thousands of troops to deploy. The Vrexians had hundreds. On the Vrexian flagship, Thaxmar watched his ship being overrun in real time. Humans were cutting through the hull in 50 different locations. His soldiers fought hard, but they were being overwhelmed by sheer numbers. "Seal the bridge," he ordered. "Prepare to self-destruct the ship." "General, wait," his intelligence officer said, reviewing data. "Look at casualty reports. The humans are taking heavy losses. We've killed 3,000 of them in the last hour. And," Thaxmar demanded, "and they don't care. They're still coming. They're not retreating despite massive casualties. It's like they're willing to trade 3 of their soldiers for 1 of ours." "That's insane," Thaxmar said. "No military force accepts those kinds of losses." But the humans did. Because back on Earth, in facilities hidden across the planet, another 1,000,000 soldiers were already growing. These casualties weren't crippling to humanity. They were acceptable losses. Junwoo Park fought through a Vrexian ship with his squad. Half his friends were dead. Dalsu had been killed by a plasma round. Others had fallen to Vrexian weapons. But Junwoo kept advancing because that was what he was made to do. He turned a corner and came face to face with a Vrexian soldier. They fired simultaneously. The Vrexian's plasma bolt hit Junwoo in the shoulder, burning through his armor. Junwoo's railgun round hit the Vrexian in the center mass, penetrating his armor. Both fell. But behind Junwoo, 3 more human soldiers were already advancing. Behind the Vrexian, there was no one. Medic Seokjin-oh moved through the battlefield, treating wounded soldiers. The casualties were terrible. He had lost count of how many broken bodies he had worked on. But for every soldier he couldn't save, 2 more were already in position, still fighting. He documented everything. Someday people would want to know what happened here. They would want to understand the price humanity paid for their place in the galaxy. "We're winning," a wounded soldier told him as Seokjin treated a plasma burn. "Right? Tell me we're winning." Seokjin looked at the tactical display on his helmet. Human forces were capturing Vrexian positions across all 3 moons. Human boarders were overwhelming 2 of the 3 capital ships. "Yes," he said. "We're winning." On the Vrexian flagship, Thaxmar made his final report to the Empire. "They have unlimited soldiers. We've killed thousands and they keep coming. I don't understand how this is possible. Where are they getting all these troops?" The Galactic Council chamber was silent as Ambassador Daewon Kim walked to the center platform. It was the same platform where he had stood 2 years earlier, asking for membership. The same aliens filled the seats around him. But the atmosphere was completely different. No one laughed now. Behind Daewon stood Commander Hyojin Park, now promoted to general after her leadership in the Jupiter campaign. Next to her stood Young-Soo Han, representing the new generation soldiers who had fought and died in humanity's first interstellar conflict. President Haiwan-jung appeared on a holographic display, transmitted from Earth. She was a small woman with gray hair and calm eyes, but everyone in the chamber knew she commanded the largest military force in known space. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," Daewon began. His voice was steady, but there was an edge to it now. 2 years ago, I stood here and asked to join your community. You laughed. You called us insignificant. You said our single planet made us weak. He paused, looking around the chamber. The Vrexian seats were empty. Overlord Quintar was not present. He was currently a prisoner on Mars, awaiting trial. 3 months ago, the Vrexian Empire sent a fleet to claim our solar system. They believed we were helpless. They were wrong. Images appeared on the chamber's main display. Battle footage from Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. Human soldiers emerging from ice and rock. Overwhelming Vrexian forces through sheer numbers. Shipboarding operations where hundreds of humans swarmed each Vrexian vessel. The Vrexian Empire sent 50,000 soldiers to subdue Earth. We met them with 150,000. We fought them on 3 moons and in space. We boarded their ships and took them from within. At the end, they surrendered. The Thalorian matriarch spoke, her ancient voice carrying across the chamber. You took severe casualties. Our analysis shows you lost 30,000 soldiers in that battle. Those losses would cripple most civilizations. President Haywan responded from Earth. We lost 32,400 soldiers. Each one is mourned. Each one is remembered. But Ambassador, those losses did not cripple us. The day after the battle ended, 50,000 new soldiers completed their training. We are stronger now than before the conflict began. Silence fell again. The implications were staggering. How is this possible? A Nexarian representative demanded. Where do these soldiers come from? No planet can sustain such losses and replacement rates. Young Su-Han stepped forward. I am one of the new generation. I was created 2 years ago in a facility beneath Earth's surface. I was grown from genetic material, trained through neural implants, and reached maturity in 3 years. There are 500,000 soldiers like me now, and production continues. The chamber erupted in shocked whispers. Artificial humans, mass production of soldiers? Such things had been attempted before by other species, but never on this scale. This is unethical, the Nexarian protested. Creating life solely for warfare violates principles of sentient rights. I am alive, Young-Su replied calmly. I think, I feel, I choose. Yes, I was created with a purpose, but is that so different from your citizens who are raised from birth to serve your empire? At least I know my purpose gives my life meaning. Day One raised his hand for silence. The ethics of our methods can be debated, but the reality cannot be ignored. Earth now has the largest military force in this region of space, and we can sustain and grow that force indefinitely. How large? The Thalorian matriarch asked quietly. President Haywan answered. Currently deployed forces number 700,000 soldiers. In training and development, another 5 million. Our production facilities can create 2 million soldiers per year. And we can maintain this production for at least 50 years with current resources. The numbers were incomprehensible to the assembled aliens. Their civilizations spread across multiple star systems, but no single planet had such military capacity. This is a threat, the Nexarian said. Your military force exceeds anything a single planet civilization should possess. A threat? Heejin Park spoke for the first time. The only threat we have demonstrated is to those who attack us. The Vrexians learned this lesson. Do others need to learn it as well? What do you want? The Thalorian matriarch asked. Surely you did not come here just to demonstrate your military power. President Haywan smiled slightly. We want what we have always wanted. To be treated as equals. To have a voice in galactic affairs. To be protected by the same laws that protect your civilizations. The Council rejected your membership, the Nexarian pointed out. Yes, but now we are not asking for membership. President. Haywan's image leaned forward. We are offering our services. You have vast empires but thin defenses. Your fleets are spread across hundreds of light years. Your colonies are vulnerable. Your supply lines are exposed. We saw this from the beginning. Day One pulled up a star chart. 3 months ago, the Keldaran Collective lost 2 colonies to raiders. Last month, the Nexarian Confederation had a trade convoy destroyed by pirates. 2 weeks ago, the Thalorian Collective requested emergency aid for a plague on one of their outer worlds. But your nearest medical ships were 3 weeks away. You have been spying on us, the Nexarian accused. We have been observing, Day One corrected, and we have seen that the galaxy's greatest weakness is the same as its greatest strength. You control vast territories, but you cannot defend them all simultaneously. You have magnificent technology, but you lack the numbers to deploy it everywhere. Mira Shin stepped forward, a diplomat who had been working quietly behind the scenes for months. We propose the Terran Compact. Earth will provide military support to Council members, peacekeeping forces, defense garrisons, rapid response teams. In exchange, we receive full Council membership, protected trade status, and recognition of our sovereignty over the Sol system. You want to be the galaxy's mercenaries? The Thalorian matriarch asked. Not mercenaries, Mira corrected. Guardians. Think about it. When a crisis occurs on your outer colonies, how long does it take you to respond? Weeks? Months? We can have troops deployed in days. We don't need to transport them across star systems because we produce them locally wherever they're needed. President Haywan continued. We also offer medical teams, engineering corps, and disaster response units. All human, all Earth-trained, all available for deployment anywhere in Council space. The Council members looked at each other uncertainly. It was unprecedented. A single-planet civilization offering to provide security for multi-system empires. But the logic was sound. Earth had what they lacked: concentrated resources and unlimited manpower. "What guarantee do we have?" the Nexarian asked slowly. "That you will not use this military force to conquer us." Youngsu answered, "We don't want your planets. We have one world, and it is everything to us. Every soldier we produce exists to protect Earth. Helping you defend your world simply ensures that threats never reach our home. Besides," General Park added, "conquest requires holding territory. That means spreading forces across vast distances, maintaining supply lines, garrison duty, all the weaknesses we saw in your empires. We learned from your mistakes. We will never make them." The Thalorian matriarch was quiet for a long moment. Then she spoke. "You have thought this through carefully. You identified our greatest weakness and turned your greatest limitation into your greatest strength." "We counted planets," Day One said quietly, echoing his words from 2 years ago. "You counted planets and measured power by territory. But we counted people. We counted soldiers willing to fight. And we realized that numbers matter more than space." Over the following weeks, the Terran Compact was negotiated and ratified. Earth received full Council membership. The Sol system was recognized as humanity's sovereign territory, protected by galactic law. In exchange, Earth agreed to provide military support to Council members when requested. The first deployment came quickly. The Keldaran Collective requested assistance dealing with raiders on their border worlds. 50,000 human soldiers deployed within 2 weeks, traveling on Keldaran ships to save time. Within a month, the raider problem was eliminated. The Nexarian Confederation requested peacekeeping forces for one of their colonies experiencing civil unrest. 20,000 human troops deployed to maintain order while negotiations proceeded. Their presence, disciplined and neutral, helped prevent violence. The Thalorian Collective requested medical teams for a plague outbreak. 5,000 human doctors, nurses, and medical technicians deployed with the latest Earth medicine. They saved millions of lives. With each deployment, humanity's reputation grew. They were effective. They were reliable. They were everywhere. And always, back on Earth, the Genesis facilities continued their work. Production never stopped. New soldiers awakened every day, ready to deploy wherever they were needed. 2 years after the Jupiter battle, Dr. Ji-Wan Lee stood in her facility, watching a new generation reach maturity. She thought about the journey that had brought them here. From mockery to respect, from weakness to strength. "How many now?" her assistant asked. "Active military forces, 1.2 million. In training, 8 million. In development, 12 million. And the other species? They've started calling us the Endless Army," Ji-Wan said with a slight,